Mr. Speaker, as I rise to make my contribution to this 2021 budget debate, I begin by commending the Honorable Senior Minister within the Office of the President, Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, and his team for a budget that sought to bring relief to the ordinary people. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, when we look at the menu of measures proposed by Budget 2021, I could not help but wonder if the Minister of Finance had taken on the role of Santa Claus, giving out presents here, there, and everywhere. He did not miss one sector and sought to ensure that the budget reached everyone. This, Mr. Speaker, is commendable, but not surprising. The PPPC administration now, like those in the past, has always sought for the fruits of development to reach all Guyanese. Indeed, it is the PPPC that is delivering the vaunted good life to all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2021 builds on the progress commenced in Budget 2020. It seeks to further dismantle the hardship and burdens that the coalition placed on the backs of the working people during its short but destructive term in office. Indeed, Budget 2021 was highly anticipated and clearly delivered. It is a far cry from what we experienced during the APNU AFC. Mr. Speaker, the fact that the PPPC can enhance reliefs to the ordinary people without increasing or adding any tax or fees signals that the country is in the hands of the right people. It must be recalled that some 200 taxes and fees were shoved down our throats by the former leaders of the APNU AFC government, who sought to insult our intelligence by barefacedly telling us they had the nation's interests at heart. Undoubtedly, Mr. Speaker, those cunning statements have unveiled themselves as downright deception. Just in recent weeks, we have seen several scandals emerging, thus demonstrating where those leaders' interests really are. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues on the other side of this Honorable House, except the Honorable Deputy Speaker, Mr. Chairman, are trying desperately to employ every means necessary, even transcending the figments of their imagination, to find talking points to denounce this budget. Just imagine, their only reaction was to say that public servants would get no increase. And when their folly was exposed, it appeared the cat got their tongues. They have now changed tunes and are speaking no more of collective bargaining, but what an announcement. Similar to when they were in the driver's seat. Imposition after imposition was the order of the day. Mr. Speaker, the honorable members on the other side of the House, and I said except the Honorable Deputy Speaker, while saying they speak for the working people, are really far away from their travails. Let me say to them, Mr. Speaker, public servants are not the only group of workers in this country. Let us not forget that it was that same APNU AFC grouping that diluted the Ministry of Labor into a mere department, refusing to acknowledge calls for its resuscitation. Today, the Ministry of Labor is not only resuscitated, but is being actively revamped. Honorable Minister Hamilton spoke to the many efforts of the government to advance the protection of the working class. I must remind Mr. Speaker that the coalition during its term did not advance a single piece of legislation to enhance workers' protection. I recognize too the efforts of the Ministry of Labour to advance its training agenda and matching skills with vacancies. So, Mr. Speaker, the PPP is walking the talk and not engaged in idle talk as we see emanating from the APNU AFC on the other side of this House. Mr. Speaker, the 2021 budget was presented under the theme A Path to Recovery, Economic Dynamism and Resilience. As I considered the theme, my mind was immediately jolted to the agriculture sector. This industry plays a seminal role, yet the coalition downplayed, diminished, and degenerated the sector. During the coalition's term in office, the country had an office, Georgetown-based agriculture minister. I repeat that. The country had an office, Georgetown-based agriculture minister. He could not be found in the fields, grounding with farmers and workers. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, that the then Minister of Agriculture told the media he was not aware that the then government had borrowed $30 billion for Gaisuku when he was asked. Really, Mr. Speaker, could we have had any hope that the sector would have developed under such leadership? Mr. Speaker, it is interesting for us to note that this government is saddled with that debt contracted by APNU AFC. Today, Mr. Speaker, the sector is on the path to recovery, dynamism, and resilience. Our new Minister of Agriculture, I recognize, is working dedicatedly to reverse the damage inflicted. I have known of the Minister's unflinching stance to alleviate the plight of the farmers and agriculture workers. I know too of his connection to the ordinary people, and that is why I'm not surprised when I open the newspaper to see him interacting with farmers, sugar workers, fishermen, and others on a regular basis. It is that sort of practical hands-on leadership that is required to put agriculture back to its rightful place. Mr. Speaker, the coalition's disdain for agriculture was probably most visibly manifested in the sugar industry. APNU AFC took an industry which was showing great signs of recovery to its lowest ebb. It was as if they had a reverse Midas touch. A reverse Midas touch, Mr. Speaker. When the APNU AFC entered office in 2015, former Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu is quoted in a statement of November 28, 2015, as saying, quote, Gaisuku will recover this year, will mark a turning point in the performance of the industry. End of quote. By May 2020, former Gaisuku chairman John Doe was seeking the intervention of the then President Granger, quote, to use your good office to arrange for funding to prevent the impending closure of the industry, end of quote. That is the reverse Midas touch at work, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I saw a few nights ago Honorable Member Kemraj Ramjatan on the news contending that the government's support to sugar was akin to pouring good money into a bad industry. I'm informed, Mr. Speaker, that the Honorable Member may know a lot about pouring. He's not here and he's probably gone pouring. But I urge him to remove his blinkers. The Honorable Member chooses, it seems, to ignore what sugar means to our nation. or what it contributes economically and socially to our people. It was the same honorable member, Mr. Speaker, who during the 2015 elections campaign promised sugar workers their lives would be assured with a 20% increase, among other things. But Mr. Speaker, he turned around and betrayed them. Today, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member called the sugar workers bloodsucker. I wish he was here so that I could have looked at him in the eyes, Mr. Speaker, and say to the member that he is nothing but shameless, to put it mildly. He must know, however, that this nation is listening. Those thousands of Guyanese who suffered will undoubtedly forever remember the coalition crime against them. But what's worse, Mr. Speaker, is that it seems the honorable member and his colleagues disdainfully are seeking to perpetuate policies that impoverish and pauperize our people, and yet they want to call themselves leaders. In passing, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member, Mr. Ramjatan, said ginger production was 29,000 tons. Well, at $200 per pound, Region 1 would have earned 12.76 billion. That did not happen. And clearly the honorable member, we could conclude, is not thinking straight. Some people may say some other things about straight. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is that a great deal of the support is directing toward repairing what I consider the deliberate damage inflicted to the sugar industry. I'm convinced, Mr. Speaker, that the coalition had one clear intention. That was to remove sugar from the map of Guyana. But in as much as I'm convinced about that, Mr. Speaker, I remain at a loss as to what motivated them to pursue such a policy of spitefulness. Is it that they despise sugar workers? Is it that the workers harmed or hurt them? What did the sugar industry do for the APNU AFC to heap such scorn onto them? Is it because they are now sitting in the different seats in this House? Mr. Speaker, history will record the harsh treatment the coalition meted out to the sugar industry. It was completely reprehensible, and war where it appeared that the industry was executed at the altar of political expediency. Mr. Speaker, while we must lament the past, wisely it is said, we should not live in it. It is therefore heartening that the sugar industry is on the path of recovery and ultimate resilience. Significant efforts are being made at this time to breathe new life into the industry. At this time, the new board and management are actively focused on bringing the industry back into its rightful path. This is a task that is worth the reward, and one that future generations will forever cherish. The budget informed that an estate by estate plan was being developed to bring estates back to profitability. Already several practical and workable measures are being pursued to improve the state of affairs. Increased packaged sugar, which attracts superior prices, is being maximized, and other areas for improvement are being considered. Apart from that, diversification opportunities are being examined in the areas of agro-energy and other product diversification. Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, is what sets apart PPPC from my colleagues on the other side. It seems rather than seeing the glass half empty rather than half full. Simply put, Mr. Speaker, it was that sort of thinking that pushed the industry down into the doldrums. But, Mr. Speaker, sugar was just one of the main victims of the coalition's disdain for agriculture. Our farmers were asked to swallow hefty hikes in cost of land rental, and drainage and irrigation fees. They suffered with the removal of tax concessions for equipment and confronted other anti-farmer policies. Again, I am at a loss, Mr. Speaker, to rationally explain the logic to punish those who feed us and keep us strong. Many farmers were barely able to keep their noses above water and faced painful times during the APNU AFC term. That is why I'm heartened, Mr. Speaker, to recognize and applaud the reversal of those policies. Today, our farmers can once again breathe ease as the shackles which held them back have been removed. Today, our brothers and sisters in the agriculture sector are excited, anxious, and motivated to put their best foot forward. Indeed, we have significant agricultural potential, and the industry can play an important role in ensuring economic diversity as we seek to build a resilient economy that is not dependent on a few sectors. This is testament to the forward-thinking approach of the PPPC, which does not consider just today, but tomorrow and the days after as well. Mr. Speaker, as a trade unionist interacting regularly with the ordinary man and woman, I cannot fail to use this opportunity to speak to the pro-poor and pro-people measures outlined in the budget. Undoubtedly, the people have much to celebrate. The school children grant has not only been restored, but improved as well. This will go a far way in assisting many Guyanese to be able to acquire items for their children's schooling. This, Mr. Speaker, is now being deemed inadequate by the APNU AFC, whose legacy was one of removal or takeaway.
Honorable member, you will need an extension to talk more about legacy.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask for my colleague to have 5 minutes more to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable member, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There is much jubilation with the decrease in water rates coming after VAT was removed a few months ago. Similarly, the expansion of the zero-rated list of goods will see the cost of living further reduced, while our pensioners and public assistance recipients are to receive a well-deserved hike. Taken together, the disposable income of our people has gone up by several $1,000s. This is a significant win for all Guyanese. Clearly, Mr. Speaker, there is a great lot for our people to be excited about. Undoubtedly, there have been several gains, and I'm certain there is more in the pipeline. Indeed, with a fast expanding economy, the expectation of our people are heightening. The government has committed itself to bringing relief and betterment to all Guyanese. Aptly put, Mr. Speaker, His Excellency President Irfan Ali, when he addressed the House a few days ago, said, quote, "There is a bright future ahead," end of quote. I'm convinced this government will build a future that is secure, strong, and sustainable. Budget 2021 is another step in that direction where Guyanese will be proud, happy, and contented. This is a future we must all aspire for, and one which we all deserve and must work collectively to realize as we advance the lot of all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, I commend Budget 2021. Thank you very much.